We'll be back from the break. It's exactly 4 minutes. That is past 8 o'clock. And this is your daily Kickstarter Smart Means Business, the #1 business breakfast show that is around town. We'll definitely bring you those very important facts related to business that can answer actually most of the questions for all entrepreneurs at all levels across. But of course, these amazing discussions, like I always tell you, they are proudly always brought to you by Zabo, which is a platform from Alltex through which you can actually buy government bonds and securities for a fee of 15,000 you get in shillings. Now at exactly 8:15, that's when the markets are going to be opening, and they will run up to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. Something effective Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends on the public holidays when this market's going to be accessed. But of course, that's not the big deal here. We have at least the rest of the days to capitalize and make money. Something which I believe personally is quite key and important when it comes to your financial growth and development as an individual. So Zabo made this a reality for you. There is no excuse why I shouldn't be a part of it. Yes, and that's why it boldly comes out and tells you that it's your money, it's your future, and the Alltex East Africa tells you that you got to do something for yourself. It is 2023. It's a Monday morning. Definitely inspiration is quite a key aspect to kickstart off your week, and yeah, it could be something that could motivate you to actually profit quite big. Let's get into this. Well, of course, redouble your branding efforts. That is key. We definitely, if we talk about branding, you can't talk about entrepreneurial success and really related to brands. Really, it has to be a branding, and of course, branding is not a logo. Some people normally think branding is a logo, but branding is actually a personality, and it's a spirit that you create that people actually can relate to it. That I may not have to see your logo, but I can actually see how you behave. What is your character like to outside there? And I can actually be able to notice that this is actually you. So that is the true essence of branding, and that is the true spirit of branding from that perspective. And of course, we saw something about people that have made it in life. They never quit. By the way, let me tell you something. There is something very interesting when we hear these aspects of not quitting. Success. No wonder actually somehow when God was designing these all aspects, I guess he knew that not everybody can actually make it, because really out there, it's really tough. It's more of survival for the fittest. And you get to realize that the things that actually put off people to not achieve their goals are quite just small things, And we also need to understand certain facts of life. These are facts of life. Truth be told, each person has their own story. Each person has their own story. There are people that will actually tell you that they have done something. Anyway, before I get there, one thing I want you to understand about being successful, I've seen a certain common trend, especially in Uganda here. we normally move by what, what is moving at that current time. But we forget one thing. In most cases, when you look at someone prospering in something, I'm just giving an example. Somebody has been, he's succeeding in fashion. Or let me even not go far. Let me just use somebody has a shop downtown and it's making money. And probably you also say, oh, let me invest in clothes because they have money. I don't really care whether you have the money and you have invested in something because somebody is making money. You have high chances of failing. Why? Because you need to understand that people have been doing these things over time. Somebody you're seeing prospering in something, they have actually been doing it over time. It's because you're just seeing them you're not seeing them from their roots, but you're seeing them from the stem that they have actually put out there. But you have no idea how deep rooted, how deep the roots really are. That's why we had a quote some time back that was relating to that aspect that the quote was saying, just keep my mind, but the depth, you're looking at somebody from the top, not the roots. Yes, it has come back. Actually, the quote was about there is no overnight. Okay, it was something in relation to overnight success is not really overnight success. It's something somebody has been cultivating for quite a longer time. But the only chance is that opportunity has found him available this time around and he's really undertaking it. But of course, before that opportunity could come, probably that person wasn't really ready. So never quit. Just because you've joined a profession and you feel like it's not paying you like how it's paying you, well, I understand you joined that profession because one of your friends is doing that same profession and he told you that it actually generates money. But the person telling you that it generates money, this is something he's been doing for the rest, for almost all his lifetime. So that means he knows the basics. From knowing the basics, he knows he knows the people to interact with. He knows aspects which can make you money. But for you, you're just excited about the money, but you've not yet fulfilled the process of actually making that money. That is hope. We're trying to connect in some sort of a way. So people have worked over time for this aspect. And somebody challenged me some time back. This is an entrepreneur when he told me actually that in everything you do actually, you have a chance of becoming a master and an apprentice into something. We normally give up so fast when doing something. If there is a line you've been walking in, for example, I'm trying to say, if you're a teacher, and you've been doing teaching all the way, and you choose to join fashion, well, it is okay. I understand. But you've been teaching for the last 20 years. How best can you actually generate business from that? Okay, it's okay. You may go into fashion, but it may still be related fashion for school-related items. It could be clothes, making all this, because you've been in schools, you know what schools want, you know what materials they want. In that way, you stand quite a higher advantage, other than you just venturing into fashion, and just because you know somebody that makes money from it, and somehow, yes, you may get, I'm not saying you won't get the money, actually the money will come, but there is what they call average success. So you settle for less. Yet, if you had actually interacted with the right people, you would actually be way far. I know when I talk about average success, I'm talking about success whereby if something happened in the country, you're not shaken because you know how to survive. You've obtained assets enough. Not that you have a lot of money, but at least you've obtained assets enough to sustain you even on a very bad day. Such people are not affected by inflation really as much. Because they have perfected their craft to the extent that it has generated them stability to live for their generations. So don't quit. And actually, some of the aspects of quitting, a quitting spirit actually, quitting soul, is the kind of soul that wanders around. You're trying out this, you're trying out that, you're trying out this, but you're master to none. And surprisingly, let me tell you something. Most especially if you're trying to, to establish yourself, because once you stick in one line, you're creating a brand for yourself. because like our first quote said, redouble your efforts in branding. So as you don't quit, you're building your brand for yourself. I mean, as you keep that positivity moving on. Because one day, one time, even though you went to ask for a job, they'll ask you, what can you do? What's your expertise? And are you going to tell them I can do anything? I mean, somebody's not going to take you serious, honestly. They're not going to take you serious. You'll have to really have where to stand. But how do you get that stability? You can only get that stability once you stick to one thing, don't quit. In the process, you're redoubling, your branding efforts. You're establishing a line for yourself for you to survive. Before I wind out, the state of New York, most of the people that have actually made money from that New York, 85% are people that have branded themselves for something, and this is why you could be known as somebody probably who has the best restaurant. It could probably be somebody that has the best bar, that has the best gym. You are recognized by your branding in New York. That's why you see, let me say, Cedric the Entertainer. You can hear something like Morgan the Cobra, something like that. Then you can hear something like Morgan the Bartender. You can really see all those, but why? They have established brands for themselves. They didn't quit the line of business that they were doing, jumping around this and that, and yet they became masters tonight. So that is quite key. For the states of California, sometimes it's just more of. But what I'm trying to say, this could be something that we can actually adopt to ourselves here in Africa, East Africa. It is quite very key and important in that way. Once we have that recognition, once we have our products that we can actually put out there, because we've been doing these products all over time, I guess we can have something really competitive to be impactful in whichever way, in whichever sector you be in. But as long as you perfect your craft, you're really way good to go. Well, that is it for our inspiration moment. But of course, like I told you, we are still in matters to do with supply chain disruptions, and today we decided to focus on agriculture. And now the aspect that we are trying to look into today is agriculture, the disruption, the supply bottlenecks when it comes to the agriculture sector. Now, we also need to understand that climate change has greatly contributed to the agriculture supply chains disruptions, both in Uganda and the globe at large. Now, Uganda is a particularly vulnerable country, according to my report here, to the impacts of climate change, as it is heavily dependent on agriculture. It's dependent on agriculture, which is highly volatile and sensitive to climate variability extremes. Now, the country is already experiencing a number of climate-related impacts. That is, of course, increased temperatures. According to my report, average temperatures in Uganda have increased to about 1.5 degrees Celsius since 1960s. So we are just having an increase since 1960s, the time frame in which the nation actually obtained its independence. Now, this is projected to continue, with temperatures expected to increase to by another 1.5 degrees to 2.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. You can see that. Now, changes in precipitation patterns in Uganda, which are some of the aspects it's actually facing. Precipitation patterns, Uganda is experiencing more frequent and severe droughts and floods, and of course taking a look at rainfall, which is also becoming more unpredictable, or making it difficult for farmers to actually plan for their crops. That's why earlier on in our morning call, we're actually looking at how ways technology can help to bridge the gap of the supply chain bottlenecks within the agriculture sector. Now, still further in here, we see extreme weather events. Uganda is also experiencing more extreme weather events such as hailstorms, landslides, and these events can actually cause widespread damage to crops and infrastructure. At the same time, Now, of course, these climate-related impacts, are having significant impact on the agricultural supply chain in the country of Uganda. And of course, we see there has been reduced crop yields, according to my report. Maybe just a brief on this. Crop yields in Uganda have declined in the recent years. That is due to climate change. For example, maize yields have declined by about 10% since 1990. So you see, remember, since 1960s, we projected that the temperatures are increasing. Now, of course, climate change is also creating more favorable conditions for pests and diseases, which can, which are really doing that. So I wish we also get to know that. An example here is taken in points in time. In 2021, of course, the floods which damaged roads and bridges, disrupting transportation of agricultural products. And all this is due to the climate change. Today, definitely, due to these heavy rainfalls, down there in downtown, some of these shopping arcades are really affected in that way. So you can see how it transcends from just agriculture to other normal businesses. But of course, we also need to understand that some of these climate change related aspects are as a result of poor farming methods, which actually disrupt. Well, away from that, we need to also understand that food security is one of the key aspects in here, which can also hinder the agriculture supply. When it comes to the supply chain of agriculture, food security is quite key. And of course, we see quite a few stakeholders that made initiatives to reach out to the residents of northern Uganda, such that they are given these seeds which they can plant over time, because once they plant, once they plant while they have already seeds in the store, there will be efficient growth of food, and definitely there will be efficient supply, and we shall not have any hindrances in the agriculture supply chain. Let's get into this report.
They are implementing a participatory plant breeding approach, whereby they do participatory variety selection, and they come up with the different crops that are all grown in this community, and then they select the most important crop, which they have selected groundnuts, aware that they have some varieties that used to exist and now they are scarce in the community. So farmers in Adamaskamora have got their breeding objectives, and their breeding objectives are majorly to breed the varieties which are high yielding, the varieties that are drought tolerant, and the varieties that are pest resistant and marketable. So they have been able to do this for a period of 5 years now. They moved from selecting varieties to now multiplying the selected varieties that have the traits that they prefer. And they selected Serenat 11T, a tan color, and Serenat 14R, and then one of the local varieties called the Oteira. And these are the farmers who have been able to multiply. In 2021, they were able to grow, and they've harvested 5 bags. In 2022, they also grew, and again, they harvested 7 bags. Now, these groundnuts have been able to help farmers to access a quality seed. Because of that, they also work with their community seed bank, which is called Adamasco Community Seed Bank, under a cooperative called the Ojom Ochulo Lwela Joint Farmers Cooperative Society in Katine. So the farmers now have the knowledge of selecting the varieties that they prefer. They are able to know which variety to grow in the first season, which one to grow in the second season. They are also able to know which varieties are more preferred in the community, so that they are able to sell. And because of that, these farmers are now doing a seed business where they are able to produce seed and sell to the community, but also sell to the research. And nursery is one of their potential market that always comes. They monitor, they give them support, and they have been able to sell some seed to them.
We began with beans, so we benefited the two good words which we have: drought tolerant, which we found it is among the worst problems we have. Then drought and disease tolerant. We found only these seeds, biayale. That is one thing we got. So we came out with only one word. We are going to bring this biayale to its strength, which was brought by somebody in early 97 here. So we found a method which is called PVT. That is our system that we began with. The problem was language, English barrier. So our native people whom we collected could not pick. That is one. Two, methods which the group was bringing. We had to use our man translating the language which they were using. Two, the problem was drought. Three, diseases. So this brought us to come out to select only biayale.
Climate change is a big problem. I know that you have been able to identify a seed that had been underutilized and neglected. However, in the face of climate change, we are talking about kind of integrated farming methods. During a dry spell, try to establish those small gardens where you can plant cabbages, tomatoes, bilingani, onions. The ones that you can manage to water with water from the borehole. You will find that you will have food continuously even during the dry season.
Well, that is matters to do with food security and something to do with preserving food for future. I mean, preserving the seeds for the future. You never know what's going to really happen. And lately, when we talk about food reservation, seed reservation, it's very interesting that most of these countries, for example, in the United States of America and some other countries in Europe, have actually stored seeds, indigenous seeds, and they have decided to import the GMO seeds to us in some sort of a way. But of course, I'm trying to show you the aspect of seed preservation as part of the ways of enhancing, to reduce the aspects of, to strengthen food security that is within a given country from that perspective. Well, those were, of course, residents of the northern Uganda, making sure that they have seeds available such that they can actually be planting all season out for consumption and also for commercial purposes. Exactly 26 minutes past 8. Smart Means Business, your daily kickstarter, the #1 business breakfast show around town, as we definitely drive your business through all the way. But of course, still to remind you that all these discussions are being proudly brought to you by Zabo, which is a platform from Alltex through which you can actually be in position to buy government bond securities for a fee of 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, as I speak right now, the markets are ready in operation. They opened at 8:15 a.m. and they'll be running all the way up to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time, and this is always effective Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays. Well, these markets cannot be accessed, but that's not the big deal. At least you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money, something which I believe it's quite key and important when it comes to your financial growth and development as an individual. Zabo made this a reality for you, and that's why it comes out and boldly tells you that it's your money, it's your future. And Alltex East Africa tells you that you gotta do something new for yourself. It is 2023. Well, that is it for now. Of course, we're going to take a short break, but when we return, business and entertainment, of course, in the pipeline, and sports business. But of course, in business and entertainment, we shall be taking a look at the weekend box office. What were those movies that have been making money? I definitely believe you can't wait to miss this. Stick around.